The Supreme Court agreeing to take up its first major gun rights case in more than a decade. Joining me now to weigh in on this is St. Louis attorney Mark McCloskey. Mark, glad to have you back here. It's been a while, sir. First off, before we get to the Second Amendment stuff, it's been a while since you've been on the program. Would you update the folks on how your particular case is going? Everybody's going to remember how you defended your home with a firearm after some individuals were already destroyed some property in your neighborhood, and you wanted the BLM mobs to just steer clear of your place. Tell us where we are in your case.
Well, as you know, our Soros-funded circuit attorney, Kim Gardner, used us in her campaign advertising, and we moved the court to have her disqualified because of her prejudice and bias. The court did that. The Supreme Court of Missouri just recently affirmed that, so she's out. The whole circuit attorney's office is out. We have now had appointed a special prosecutor, a gentleman named Richard Callahan, who is a U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri for 8 years, and then a judge up in Jeff City, Missouri. So he's going to be taking a new look at it. We've asked the court, we're going to have a hearing on Friday to toss out the old grand jury indictments on the basis that they were tainted as well. Give us a new grand jury and a chance to have an unbiased look at it.
Way to fight, way to fight. And everyday Americans, they were appalled that a Soros-funded official brought charges against you and your wife for defending your home from a violent mob that had already done damage to your neighborhood. Now the Supreme Court is taking up a gun rights case in New York. Leftists there have made it illegal to carry your firearm outside your home. As a gun owner, what is your take on this?
Well, you know, the Second Amendment says to keep and bear arms, right? To keep means to possess them. To bear means to take them with you to defend yourself when you're most likely to need them. And in New York City, just like in D.C. and Detroit and the murder capital of the world here in St. Louis, you're most likely to need a weapon to defend yourself when you're out in public. They're not very likely to break into your 19th story condo in some high rise, but they're very likely to attack you when you're on the street. And the law in New York that only allows you to carry if you can show some special circumstances that are unique to you, not just the environment or your profession, essentially makes it impossible for people to get a concealed carry permit, and exposing them to the now very heightened danger of living in New York with all the defund the police and the mob rule. I mean, it's just crazy to say that you can't carry a weapon under the very circumstances where the Second Amendment created a right to defend yourself. I mean, that's the fundamental right of the Second Amendment, to defend yourself against your adversaries.
Amen to that. Now that we have a 5-4 constitutional court, what do you think? You think you're confident that they're going to rule on the side of the founding document?
I sure hope so. I mean, the law of the individual right to bear arms, not just to keep but to bear arms, goes back into ancient English law. I mean, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams are all people that openly carried weapons in public. At the time of the founding of our country, many of the states and the colonies had statutes requiring people to carry weapons. I mean, the old saying goes that, in the frontier days, a person would be no likely to leave their house without their musket or their firearm than an Englishman would leave his castle without a sword. And that's just a fundamental right.
All right. In your city of St. Louis, a left-wing extremist, Congresswoman Cori Bush, favors defunding the cops. You mentioned that. She goes ahead and then hires her own personal security. Watch this.
Congresswoman, if you support defunding the police, why are you paying for your own security? I'm sorry, ma'am. Do you have any comment on why you want to defund the police, but you're paying for your own security? You want to take resources away, but you're providing them for yourself?
Mark, these left-wingers, these lawmakers, quote unquote, they're dangerous and they're hypocrites, yes?
Oh, God. And, she represents the most dangerous city in the country, the highest murder rate in St. Louis in 50 years last year. We were the most dangerous city in the country 5 years running last year. And her solution is to take the police out of St. Louis. It's insane. But it's not coincidental, and it's not a matter of ignorance or ineptitude. There's an organized plan to destabilize every city in this country, to create mob rule as the enforcement arm of leftist policies. Do what we say, or we'll burn your cities down. I mean, there was no better example of that than on the day of the George Floyd verdict, when everybody from Maxine Waters and Benjamin Crump and the President and Vice President of the United States basically said, we need the verdict that we want, or we're going to continue to have violence. Benjamin Crump, a lawyer, just like me, a guy who allegedly has to obey the law and be answerable to his bar association, stood outside the courthouse and said that if we don't get the right verdict, what happened in the country in the summer last year will look like child's play. I mean, is that a threat? Is that inciting riot?
Well,
is that jury tampering?
Yeah.
Does he go to? Yeah. I'm charged with a felony for standing in front of my house and keeping people from killing me and burning down my house. I could face 4 years in prison. And, you know, the President of the United States said the same thing. I'm hoping for a right verdict. I mean, how can you get away with that kind of stuff?
Congresswoman, yeah, I know, I hear you. As Congresswoman Cori Bush illustrates, Washington, D.C. needs a lot of help. Give me about 30 seconds if you can, but have you given more consideration to a run for Senate?
You know, it's definitely a consideration. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback. We've been speaking out at a variety of functions. We spoke at the Kansas City, Jackson County, Missouri Republican Lincoln Reagan Days last Saturday, or a week ago Saturday. I was the first speaker. The two declared candidates, Eric Greitens and Eric Schmidt, were the second and third speakers. I think we got a lot of support. We've been hearing that from everybody that the people in the country are just sick and tired of cancel culture and the poison of critical race theory and the lie of systemic racism, all backed up with a threat of mob rule. People want a real change, and they don't want to hear the same old thing from D.C., and they don't want to send the same old cadre of posers and egotists and career politicians. Everybody wants a fresh start.
Yep, and they want people like you who don't want to surrender to the aforementioned cancel culture. Mr. McCloskey, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Keep us posted on that run.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.